I don't get the pushback on how this is a bad thing in any way, shape, or form with the Jets. Like the narrative of, oh, well, they've had plenty of picks before and they failed. Not this regime. This regime hasn't. So you have to forget everything that happened in the past.
Yeah.
This is what a rebuild is about. This is exactly what you should want. You can doubt Mujeeb or Glenn, but those are the guys in place. They are starting a rebuild. For me, this is the greatest thing ever. You're 0-7 with Quinnen Williams or whatever it may be, 1-7 with Quinnen Williams, Sauce Gardner. Guess what? You start the rebuild process, get the picks, let this regime figure out a way that they want to try to rebuild this Jets team.
I got to be honest. I think the last time I felt this good was when Aaron Rodgers came flying out of the tunnel, and I'm not kidding. Like I'm ecstatic with what the Jets did. The Jets showed that they've got a plan. The Jets show that they've now got, a guy in charge who's not afraid to take some big swings. And here's what happened, guys. Now, I know that there are definitely many layers to this, like, well, now you've got to draft the right person. Of course. I mean, that's common sense, guys. Everybody knows that. But aside from that, the Jets now control the 2026 draft. The Jets control the 2027 draft. And if somebody that we're not even thinking about right now that is already in the NFL, that is a really, really good quarterback, shakes loose, either he's unhappy with the setup or the team might not want to give him a second contract extension, the Jets are now in that conversation as well. And oh yeah, by the way, Sal, as they do this and now are able to sit at every single table where there's going to be a high-level personnel decision in the NFL, they've also reset their finances.
100%.
I mean, they did so much right yesterday, and this is not about, well, Sauce stinks or quit. No, they're good players, man. We all know that, but this was a very forward-thinking move. I love it. I am energized, and I think most Jet fans are with me. Yesterday was a big day for the Jets.
Think about the timeline from just the Giants' perspective when they hired Shane and Dable. And I was begging for this exact thing that the Jets did from the Giants, right? Move on from Jones one way or another. Move on from Barkley. Like, expedite the rebuild process now, year one. Rid yourself of these contracts of guys who have been issues here for whatever reason. Clean it up and get your own guys in. And that didn't happen with Shane and Dable for years. This is year 4, and it's the first time that they have their own quarterback. Like, that should never happen. With the Jets, they're rebuilding it the right way. Now, obviously, the key is going to be what they do with those picks. Not only finding good players, but how they use them to either move up and select a quarterback or use them in other areas, whatever it may be. That's going to be the whole key to them getting out of this abyss that they've been in for a long time. But this is exactly what you want when you have been in a rut, the way the Jets have been in the rut with multiple regimes and the off timing. McCagnon Bowles, fire Bowles, keep McCagnon, fire McCagnon, bring in Gase and fire this guy, bring in Joe Douglas. Like, it was all over the place, never cohesive. And then, oh, we can win with this team, and oh, let's try to draft a quarterback, kick Sam Darnold to the curb and go with Zach Wilson. Oh, no, that's not working. Let's go with Aaron Rodgers. Like, they tried it many different ways, and it was all convoluted and screwed up. Now they make the decision, and you could agree or disagree. They hire Mujeeb, first-time GM, coming from Denver, a successful organization. Hire Glenn, first-time head coach, whatever. You could agree, disagree.
Coming from a successful organization.
Right, and also a disciple of Parcells, who's a disciple of Peyton's a disciple of it. Like, there's a lot of continuity there when you look at the Denver model with Mujeeb being there and then Sean Payton. Obviously, Sean Payton and Aaron Glenn have similarities. Not talking about the success as a head coach.
I got you.
They both are Parcells' disciples.
Sure.
Anyway, you could agree or disagree with that, but now you have them here, year one of rebuild. This has nothing to do with, oh, there's some talent with Quinnen Williams or Sauce Gardner. No, you want these new guys to start a rebuild. By the way, they gave it some time. They were 0-7. Like, if they were 4-3, would they be doing this? Probably not.
Yeah, that's a really good question. We'll never know the answer to. I don't know. That's now, an interesting one.
Now, Mujeeb did say yesterday that the record had nothing to do with it, but I have a hard time thinking if they were 5-2 or 4-3 that they would have blown it up to that level. Either way, this is exactly what you want of a rebuild. Now it's going to be on Mujeeb and Glenn to identify the right players to select and build a solid foundation here and change the culture of what has been a losing franchise for a decade.
And oh yeah, by the way, Mujeeb's already shown, granted it's a small sample, but the ability to identify talent. First round pick Membu, check. Second round pick Mason Taylor, check. You want to execute a low-level trade and try to fleece the Titans for Brownlee? That worked out pretty well, check. He found the punter, non-drafted, who's a stud, check. Like, there's at least some evidence. There's some pebbles that are kind of connecting to a path that Mujeeb knows what he's doing. Now, one thing that I wasn't sure about, and I'm still not really sure, but I threw it out yesterday as a possible theory that the signing of Sauce was done with this intention.
Right.
Maybe that's overthinking it, but I will say this about Muji. At least the way the contract was structured enabled him to do this if it didn't work out. Listen, there's a fallacy, and I've tried to dispel this for years. I mean, going back to the mid-2000s, I remember talking about this with Stephen A. on the radio. Like, there's a thought that New York City and New Jersey and all the sports fans here will not sit through a rebuild. I think that's nonsense. I think that we won't sit through a dumb rebuild without a plan, or a rebuild that's constantly reset or hasty or sloppy. Think Stevie Francis, think Eddie Curry, think some of the Isaiah Nick stuff. Even, and I like Rodgers, you do as well, but even that was a Hail Mary, last gasp. Let's see if we can get something to hit the dartboard and maybe get lucky. New Yorkers, sports fans, will sit through a well-thought-out rebuild. And to me,
especially in a sport with salary caps.
Yeah, for sure.
Baseball may be a different story.
Yeah,
but yes.
yeah, where there's got to be a resetting, there's no doubt. And obviously where draft capital really matters. So
yeah.
I think when you look at this from every conceivable level, the ability for the Jets to really do whatever they want in the next couple of drafts here to really restock the cupboards with big-time, elite, young, cheap, controllable talent. And oh, yeah, by the way, now you can make some massive trades for unhappy superstars that are in their prime. Like, they almost made a trade for Parsons with Quinnen Williams. This came up earlier with Dallas. We heard this, yesterday, and even some smoke before that. So I just think the Jets are set up right now to really have like a stable foundation rather than a flimsy, let's try this, let's try that. I can't say it. I will say it again, but I can't say it enough. This is the best I felt this since Rodgers ran out of the tunnel. I am genuinely into. Look at me. Just you've sat next to me. Think about the Jet conversations we've had. I am absolutely pumped with what they did
because they've been in no man's land for so long. Now it's at least a clear direction of a rebuild. Not to mention the players that they brought back that have potential.
Yeah, true.
Can I tell you another thing that I loved about this? And I was more open to trading Garrett Wilson than you would have been.
Yeah, I wanted to keep him.
Fair enough, but I love that they were decisive about it, saying untouchable.
Not him.
We've identified him as a guy that we want to be a part of this turnaround in our culture and our winning, whatever it may be, building back up, trying to be a winner. I love that. Identify it. Be decisive about it. Even with the draft, you mentioned, like, they're not chasing a quarterback. They're staying disciplined. They're not going out there and trying to chase other talented players, or even in the case of Breece Hall, not just overdoing it, saying, well, we're getting rid of everybody, fire sale, let's take a 4th-round pick back. No, we don't believe that a 4th-round pick is good value for Hall, so guess what? We're keeping him.
Yeah.
Kansas City, you want him? You better come with a 3 or go home.
That's right.
I like that discipline and decisive nature from Mujeeb and Aaron Glenn.
And so do I. And here's what I think is going to happen with Breece Hall. He's going to get a contract extension because now as they reset the finances, get Quinnen's numbers off the books and what they had to pay Sauce, which goes into Mujeeb having this ability to juggle multiple things at once. Yes, they wanted to retain Sauce. No, they didn't want to do it where it would paralyze their books early. So now, hey, Colts, you got a really good player if he's locked in, and he very well might help you get to a Super Bowl. And I hope he does. I hope Sauce does well, and I hope Quinnen does well.
Oh, you want the Colts to lose, though, so you get a better
Well,
draft
that's
pick.
true. That's true, too. That is. I'm thinking more from that. That's true. That is true.
I'm trying to be too
I told you
kind.
I'm giddy. I'm losing all sensibility against Sal. This team getting me nuts. I think that the Jets now are just, they are showing signs of coming to life with intelligent people. And that is you talk about like the Knicks ascent, and we'll see where it goes. But the Knicks ascent, they didn't change owners. They just hired Leon Rose. And then Dolan stayed out of the way. And then you empower smart people and you stumble upon something good you lay out. Woody may have finally stumbled upon something good. And here's the other thing, too.
He also deserves some credit, those we talked about yesterday, staying out of the way.
You said this. Yeah.
Not me. When you talk about trading stars who are popular with the fan base.
Oh, I know. Easy to get wrapped up in that.
Correct. It's easy for an owner to be like, nah, you know what? I respect the move you want to make. I'm keeping Sauce. Figure out a way to trade somebody else.
Yeah, especially a first-year GM who's got no equity here. He laid out, which I really do appreciate. Now, the other thing, too, and we'll get these calls here, obviously, early. 888-808-1019, BT and Sal. So the ability now for the Jets to still try to win this year, which I don't mean playoffs here, but the last thing you want to do is trade everybody and then lose every game 40-6 because you're still trying to, while you want to get all the draft stuff and build for the future, you still want to have a competitive positive tone in the building now for the guys who were there. So if they happen to beat the Browns this week and win 3 or 4 games, and I don't know, maybe they do, maybe they don't, but because they've got all these additional draft picks, it will not preclude them from, if they want to, move up to number 1 if they had to get the quarterback that they might love this year or next year. So you could still try to win now, and then obviously you've got your ducks lined up and you could do some serious damage. The Jets, this sounds crazy. This sounds like a contradiction. The Jets are now power brokers in the most unconventional sense in the NFL.
One last thing before we get to the calls, 888-808-1019. You mentioned the importance of trying to win some games this year and try to build a little bit of a foundation. I think it's imperative that that's the case, because now if you look forward to next year, I don't want them to be in the same spot they've been in where they're chasing the quarterback to be the savior and just getting the quarterback.
You mean the young quarterback?
Yes.
Okay, go ahead.
Chasing the young quarterback in the draft to come in and be the savior where there isn't a foundation or structure around them.
Yeah.
Now, I'm going to trust Mujeeb and Glenn. We have no choice but to do that in this particular case, whether they love a quarterback in this year's draft or a quarterback-rich 2027 draft, which everybody's saying that might be the case. Whenever they decide to go get that quarterback, whoever it may be, it is imperative you bring him in to a situation that is not what the Jets have done with Darnold, with Zach Wilson, Geno Smith, and others. You have to bring him in to a better structure around him. I think the pieces are in place with the offensive line, but now they also have to rebuild that culture, start winning some games, the draft picks, Garrett Wilson is here. It should be a better situation, but I think it would be significantly helped if they could figure out a way to win some games and then have people start to believe in Aaron Glenn and Mujeeb and just have a better setup, as opposed to, hey, we suck, let's have the first pick or second pick, bring in the quarterback, cross our fingers, hope that he could bring us out of the abyss in New York.
And let's try to do it with one single draft pick. I mean, so we're sitting here talking about the 2 firsts this year and the 3 next year and the multiple second-round picks. That could become more by trading out, and as evidenced by what the Giants did, getting Jackson Dart. Like, there's a thought that, and I said it because it's part of the possibility where the Jets now can move up to 1 or 2, whatever they have to do if they have to get the guy that they want. But they can also move down and still identify the guy that they want. Like, it guarantees nothing, all right, except that they are in the middle of every conversation, which and a lot of those conversations will be controlled by the Jets based on their newfound draft capital. A great day. You still got to go out there and get the players. I'm pumped, that I think most Jet fans are.
Direction from the New York Jets organization. BT Sal on the Fan. Our friends at Town Fair Tire remind you that at Town Fair Tire, you always get the guaranteed lowest price on name brand tires from Connecticut to Maine. Nobody beats Town Fair Tire. Nobody. Scott is calling from East Brunswick. What's up, Scott?
What's happening, fellas?
Scotty.
Guys, BT, I'm with you. They've sucked for 15 years. We suck with you. We can suck without you. And there's finally direction. This goes back to leadership in the building. Don't give any credit to Woody, though, guys. He was just making idiotic comments 2 weeks ago about us.
But Scott,
but Woody, they traded. But BT, listen.
Oh, well, this is Sal. Scott, you have to give the owners some credit in this regard for at the very least not getting in the way of these big deals.
He allowed it to happen. I agree. Because
that's what we're saying.
Let's talk future. Let's talk future. We finally have picks. We finally have a direction. But what you said is the truth. First, you have to hit on these picks.
True.
Go back to the strategy, what you just said. Glenn learned from Parcells. Parcells in 97 came in. They traded that first pick. They picked up extra picks. He went to Detroit. Detroit trades Stafford. What's the first move Campbell makes? Get those extra picks. Just like you said, you have to have a foundation. You can't just have 2 star players and nothing else on your roster. I think they made the right move. I think it was decisive, like you guys said. Now it's about getting the right pieces, because the foundation, you have a blank slate. The money's off, so you have so much you have so much options. But the thing is this, just like you said, let's trust Mujeeb. I've trusted Glenn since the beginning. He's been there. He's seen how to rise and how to build a team up. Just like you said, though, I think it is important now. Instead of me feeling like, who cares about every game? I'm apathetic. I don't care. Now I want to see, let's win a couple games. Let's get a little good mojo, just like the Lions did year one with Campbell. Build some mojo. Make New York, make the Jets a place people want to come to.
There you go, Scott.
People have not wanted to come here because of Woody, but you know what? Let's clear the decks. Start over. It's been 15 years. I've been sick over it since they left Pittsburgh in that January night in 2011. It's time to go back to even the playoffs, and let's just build from nothing. It's the wreckage. We got nothing. Let's build with nothing and make good choices. But don't fail like you failed Sam. Because guys, you failed Sam.
Yeah, but Scott, but Scotty, thank you for the call. Good. Listen, great energy. I like your read. I happen to agree with it. I think many people feel that the ray of possibilities and the ray of hope has been, I think, very uplifting for the Jet fan base right now. Now, again, there's a lot of different side conversations here, starting with, well, now you got to actually get the players. I get that, but without a plan. That's where apathy comes in, really. When the losing just seeps in and it's rinse and repeat and recycle coaches, Sal, and GMs and, take a Hail Mary here and try to get this guy in a trade and bring in a 30-year-old receiver and Devontae Adams. Yeah, not that it didn't get you temporarily excited because you're like, well, maybe this will get it done because we're desperate. But I think that there's enough evidence in the NFL that if you try to do it this way, organically, and you don't reach for the microwave and you don't reach for the clicks and you just let smart people do their job, it usually works. Doesn't happen overnight, but it usually works.
This is the right way to do it. Now, it doesn't mean that it's going to guarantee anything. What it means is we're going to find out if Mujeeb's got it, if Glenn's got it. But the timeline is exactly what you want. This was supposed to be a rebuild. Nobody was expecting this team to do any damage this year. Come on, you got to be realistic. And they didn't. They started out awful. Obviously, 0-7. They finally get their first win. So this was the right decision to be made. Now we're going to find out. We're going to be decisive about what Mujeeb and Glenn can do. In the near future, we'll find out year 2 and year 3. This is exactly what you want, and give them some runway here for the next 2, 3, 4 seasons. And then by then, we'll be able to determine if they're on the right trajectory, the right path. But I'd rather this and have a guy like Mujeeb have the guts to trade away top talent and say, I want to bring in my guys. We, Mujeeb and Glenn, we want to bring in our guys to change the structure, the foundation, the culture of this team the way that we want it. That's exactly what you want. That's why you hire those guys. Let them do it the way that they want. Will it work out or not? We'll find out, but that's what you could ask for in a rebuild.
That's really the starting point and what you need to hope for in a rebuild. Yeah. And by the way, I think that both of these deals were very different, and I think that it speaks to the adaptability, which is a word that you hear me use pretty often here, because I think if you're not adaptable, I think you just limit yourself in terms of what you could do. And I'm talking about Mujeeb. So he wasn't out there proactively searching for a trading partner for Sauce Gardner. What he was he was smart, and he answered the phone. And the Colts were aggressive because the Colts think they could do something big this year. Maybe they can. So Indy offered whatever they offered. Not enough. He played cards. He strung it out. He got what he wanted. He got to a point where he could not turn it down. Bang, you could have Gardner. The Q stuff was completely different in the sense where, and this to me is really, this is a good sign. The opposite of what the Jets have been for so long. Quinnen Williams reportedly asked for a trade 3 different times. I mean, for that not to get leaked out, for a building that has had, gossipers. Remember the amount of texts that I used to get during the show? I mean, come on, man. Like, I'm not going to identify who it was, but I used to get texts. Me and Sal would be in the middle of a conversation. I get texts from somebody in the building telling me what's going on. Now, not every single thing was right, but a lot of it was, meaning they just had a lot of loose lips, which means it wasn't buttoned up, okay? The fact that never got out is great, because if it did, you're not getting a first and a second round pick for Quinnen Williams. If that story hits the news cycle, then the Jets have no leverage. Q demands a trade. Q asked 3 times to get dealt. Well, then, if that's the case, common sense, how the hell are you going to get a first and a second round pick? You're not. So they are buttoned up. They are quiet. They are on the same page, and this is a big step forward for the Jets. Let's go.
Justin is in Wantage, New Jersey. What's up, Justin?
Hey, morning, boys. How you doing?
Good. How are you?
Hey, Justin.
Hey, good. So I was just listening to you guys real quick. I don't understand how you can honestly think this team is going to go on and win some games after trading away their key defensive players. Almost like, can you feel regular, please? 07461. Sorry about that, guys.
It's all good. No, we're not saying we're not saying that they're going to win a lot of games. We're saying that they're going to try to still win, and then obviously.
Well, yes, they've been trying all year.
I understand.
And my whole thing is
they've been trying. You're right.
The Jets are the king. Listen, the Jets are the king of the rebuild. Only the Jets will draft 2 to 5 awesome players, and somehow can't find any way how to utilize them. We're really good at getting hope. Let's get draft picks. Yeah. Fantastic. What have we done with them in the last 20 years?
But Justin,
absolutely nothing.
But Justin, that's why the guys who made those decisions are no longer here. Now you have new people. And that's not Mujeeb and Glenn's fault that the people before them couldn't do it.
I understand that, but we all loved Joe D. Remember? He had some good hits.
Yeah.
He had some misses too.
Yep.
But the problem with the Jets is that for whatever reason, I don't know if it's whatever's in that water down there in Florham Park, we can't develop a QB. Right? We all love Aaron Glenn and the possibility of maybe one day we'll be the Lions. However, they had Jared Goff. We have nothing.
Well, they didn't have
nothing now, Justin. They didn't have Jared Goff right away. They went and got him.
Right. Yes, I get that, but the hope of a draft pick, nothing in our track record has ever shown that we can do it.
Justin.
The only time we have drafted QBs, they leave an organization and they get better.
We understand this, Justin.
Sam Darnold, Geno Wilson.
No, we know Geno Smith. We know
on
the
and
names.
on. We're on a treadmill.
I get it. But listen, and by the way, Justin, I understand that mindset. Now, that's not my mindset, because one thing that I don't do, and I really will never do this, is attach somebody else's failure and say that new people will suffer the same fate. To me, that's the height of stupidity. I'm not calling you stupid, Justin, but I just think that that's an illogical, flawed mindset. Just because somebody else was not good at their job doesn't mean that the new person can't be. What are you talking about?
Has nothing to do with this regime.
But that's what he's saying, because the Jets always stumble upon themselves and they always fail.
What's the alternative? And by the way, I can give you, like, you could say, yeah, you like Joe Douglas. Did you like the way that it was structured, where they had McCagnon hang on? What was the exact timeline? They fired Bowles, kept McCagnon, had him draft.
Yes, and then got rid of him right away.
Yeah,
if they let him draft, then they fired him.
Like, think of how stupid that is. They hire Gase, then they bring in the general manager. Like, the whole thing has been convoluted for multiple regimes. This is not. You don't have to like it, but it's at least being done. This is the right way to try and rebuild. Hire a general manager, hire a head coach, have them try to rebuild it with their own guys. The same year 1. That's what they're doing. Will it work out? Who the hell knows? But I'll tell you this, I like this structure set up better for success than I did any of the prior structures. McCagnon, you could tell right out of the gate he was overmatched.
Idzik was worse.
Idzik was an embarrassment. Wow. And think about that timeline. Like, you could go back to Tannenbaum and Mangini was really the last time.
Yeah, for sure.
You felt good maybe about a tandem, and that led to
Tannenbaum and Rex too. But you go back to the start of it.
Yes. Tannenbaum, Mangini, that led to success.
Yeah.
They decided to fire the head coach, keep the GM, they hired Rex. They still had success. So, like, that structure, then they started to get away from it. Idzik was, like, come on, dude. That was just a bad hire. That led to the McCagnon stuff. Like, we know about the timeline. I'm not saying that Muji's definitively the guy. We have no idea. But this is how, if you're going to rebuild, this is how you do it. Now they better set the foundation to whoever they bring in to succeed in this new foundation with all those draft picks that they have.
It's all about sustained success. You talk about this with the Mets. This is like, you want to have a chance to sit down and watch your team, whatever sport we're talking about, where they're having, they're in the mix to be championship viable, for a couple of years in a row. Now, depending upon the sport, obviously some windows are longer than others, but this guarantees nothing except that it opens up the possibility of building it from the inside out the right way. No quick fix, no Hail Mary, no 40-year-old quarterback whose Hall of Fame resume was for somebody else. I love it. I really, really love what the Jets did. I'm pumped, dude.
Sports Talk on Wfan, presented by Paramount Plus. You can't count on much, but you can always count on Sundays with the NFL on CBS and Paramount Plus. Watch your local NFL game live every Sunday all season long. Visit ParamountPlus.com/NFL to get started today. We'll get to the Giants as well this hour. Giants didn't do anything. The complete opposite of the Jets yesterday, the trade deadline. Why that was a good thing for the Giants. 888-808-1019, BT and Sal on the Fan.